Everybody, good to see you all. We are studying the words that change the world. The words that change the world. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? And we went through 3 Beatitudes last week. We didn't get very far. We were finishing up Matthew 4 as well. But I said there are 9 Beatitudes. I mean, there are 9. You can look at them. You don't have to trust me. And I said we would look at them in sets of 3. And 3 is going to kind of be the number for Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. It's going to show up again and again. Not just 3, but multiples of 3. So the main body of the sermon, or I guess you could say like the rest of chapter 5, is going to end up being, I'm pretty sure it's 6 sayings that you have heard it said. There are going to be 6 of those. So there are 9 Beatitudes. There are 6 points to that part of the sermon. One of these Beatitudes is going to have like 3 parts in it. The Beatitudes are 3 sets of 3. So let's talk about that first. How are they 3 sets of 3? Well, the first 3, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the meek, they have to do with being powerless or not exerting your power. The second set, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, who are merciful and are pure in heart, have to do with like living a holy life. Okay? And the third set, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, and blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Those all have to do with like the results of living this kind of life. So it's like 3 sets of 3. So let's deal with that middle set now. Blessed, this is verse 6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Righteousness. That's we call that a church word, right? How often have you heard that word outside of church? You ever heard that word outside of church? I'll tell you the one time I heard that word outside of church. This is Guy Fieri. Maybe Guy Fieri fans? Diners, drive-ins, and dives. We got a couple over here. Yeah. I mean, he's great. And he had some barbecue that was great. And this barbecue is righteous. And what did he mean? This barbecue is what it is supposed to be. It's what it's supposed to be. But this word is a little bit different from that. It does mean what it's supposed to be, but it means that a relationship is what it's supposed to be. And that's either that your relationship with God is what it's supposed to be, or your relationship with everyone else, with your community, is what it's supposed to be. And he says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for that. Does that call to mind anything? Hungering and thirsting. Hungering and thirsting. Who hungered and thirsted? Everybody. I don't know. I was thirsty yesterday. But in general, I'm not hungry. Now, in this day and age, probably most everybody experienced hunger at some point, unless you were really rich, just because of their food insecurity, probably. But I can think of in the text like some people that hungered and thirsted. Does that call to mind? Anybody? And we just got done dealing with some tests. The what?
When I said Jesus was fasting, are you thinking in those terms?
Well, Jesus was.
Eventually you'll get hungry.
As Jesus was fasting, he was hungry. But what was that a parallel of? It's a parallel of the Israelites. They went into the desert, and what did they do? They hungered and they thirsted. First they thirsted, because you get thirsty first. So they thirsted, they were tested over water, and then they were tested over food. They were hungry, and they were tested over manna. So there's a callback to the text here, and he's saying if you hunger and you thirst what were they hungering and thirsting for? For bread and water. He said, but blessed are those who hunger and thirst for a right relationship with God. And that's really what God had taken them out of Egypt, and he's taking them, they're on the way to the promised land, and he takes them into the desert to test them. Why? To test them so they could fail? To test them to know what was in their heart. He's trying to get them ready to have a right relationship with him. And that's what he's looking for, that hunger and thirst. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. I think this is a good time to bring up a point. You can think about I think the correct term is the converse. I haven't studied math in a long time. But if we say, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, the converse of that would be something like, not blessed, you might even go to cursed, are the rich in spirit, for they don't have the kingdom of heaven. You see how that works? Like, you just take it, if this is true, is the opposite also true, right? And the Bible doesn't say the opposite. And in fact, like, there are lots of sayings in the Old Testament or commandments in the Old Testament, and the rabbis would debate, well, is the opposite true? So you could say, blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. And then you could ask, well, if you don't show mercy, does that mean that you will not be shown mercy? And the Bible isn't saying the converse of these. And it's kind of left to you to think about whether the opposite is true. Now, we've got examples from Jesus' parables where someone doesn't show mercy and then they are not shown mercy. Right? We have examples of the converse. But particularly in for the first one, and this is, I think, one of the reasons for why it's hard for us to grasp that one, is because Jesus isn't saying the converse. He's not saying that to get into heaven, you have to be out of breath or out of life. He doesn't say that. And I believe it's not meant. And it's not meant that you try to be this. You don't need to aspire to be broken and to be impoverished of spirit. It's not something you need to aspire to be. And it's not what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying that happy are the poor in spirit because they're getting the kingdom. And we've seen that. Like I said, you just go back a couple verses, and he's healing all these people that are poor in spirit. And I've heard people make the point that in order to be a blessing, for these people to get the blessing, someone who is rich in spirit. Would you describe Jesus as poor in spirit or rich in spirit? He is rich in spirit. He is rich in power. He is able to heal. Someone that is rich in spirit is blessing these people who are poor in spirit, and in a way making them not poor in spirit anymore. If you're poor in spirit because you're blind, and Jesus gives you the ability to see, are you poor in spirit anymore? No. No, so you see how this works? Like, that's not something to aspire to be. What it's saying is that they are blessed, they are happy, they're fortunate because the kingdom is taking care of them. And you could bring that into you don't have to have supernatural power. When the church blesses someone who is poor in spirit, who is powerless, they are fortunate because the kingdom of heaven is theirs, not in a way that, maybe they don't even come to church. Maybe we bless someone that doesn't even come to church. They're not in the kingdom, but the kingdom was theirs. The kingdom made their life better. The kingdom made them happy. You see how theirs is the kingdom works there? So anyway, I don't want to go backwards, but I want to say that and not all of these is the converse true. In this one, Jesus gives some examples where those who don't show mercy will not be shown mercy. Let's go ahead and get the last one. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. What does that mean to you? Or what have you thought that it meant? Maybe you've started to look at these in a different way, but what have you thought that means? I'll tell you what I thought. I thought that it means that you're pure in heart, and then you go to heaven, and you see God. That's what I've always thought it meant. But if we think about this in terms of, well, it's got to be in the text. Who saw God? Who do you think of when I say they saw God? Moses. And did Moses actually see God? Did he really see God? He saw his leavings. He saw, I think it means what was left behind when God passed by. Moses saw. And why couldn't he see God? You can't see God or you'll die. You can't see God and live. God passes by. Moses sees his leavings. And then he comes down off the mountain and what? People can't even look at him. People can't even look at him because he saw what was left behind when God passed by. And Jesus sits down here and says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." Wow. One of the things I've been struggling with here is this a chiasm? Because we've seen so many chiasms, and there's 9 of them. It's odd, and I don't know that it is. But if it was, which one is the treasure? Which one of these is in the middle?
Merciful, number 5.
Blessed are the merciful. Jesus has dropped some bombs here. Like that first beatitude. How fortunate are the broken, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, is like mind-blowing, right? Like what even do you mean, Jesus? Blessed, how happy are those who mourn? Like that's crazy. And then this one, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. You probably read that because I did or heard that so many times and didn't think much about it at all. We're just like, oh yeah, the pure in heart are going to heaven. They're going to see God. The people that heard this are like, what? We know that no one can see God and live. And Jesus says, oh, blessed are the pure in heart, for they could see God. They will see God. But if there's a treasure, blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Which seems like, I don't know about you, seems like the most mundane one in here, if I was looking at it from my perspective. Seems like it's the one that is the least powerful, the least provocative, but, one of the reasons I have trouble with this is verse 10, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Wait a minute, that's a repeat of the first one, right? But this isn't the last beatitude. So I kind of have trouble when I try to turn this into a chiasm. Probably takes somebody smarter than me. I feel like it probably is, but I don't know how to make it work. All right, anyway, we got through the second set. Done a lot of talking. Any comments? Any questions?
So in what sense will they see God? You just left to wonder, you think? Or?
Absolutely. I think you're left to wonder, like, it is so powerful. Like that, so the first one is so mind-bending. Let's say, like, you got to wrap your head around that. Like, it's like saying words that don't compute. Like, has anybody ever said something to you that, like I don't even understand what they said because it doesn't make sense, right? Usually that's when I don't know, maybe the person's having trouble and like the grammar doesn't work. Somebody says something and the grammar doesn't work, you're like, what? But it can also be when somebody just says something that like you can't fathom in your head, right? Somebody says something that like, I can't picture that. It doesn't make sense to me. And what do you have to do with it? You just sit and think. You have to try to make sense of it, right? The first one is that, for sure. This one is also that. Like, how can you say that, Jesus? It says in Torah, no one can see God and live. Right? I'm pretty sure that's a paraphrase. I don't know what it says exactly. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. But like, you're going to have to sit and wonder about that, right?
Yeah. And I was going to say, for every beatitude, you wonder, is there any earthly fulfillment they will receive mercy? Is that talking about any earthly experience, or is it talking about just a later on experience in their relationship with God, the heavenly one? I mean, the point is, Jesus does not go into detail.
He doesn't go into...
Except for when he says, for great is your reward in heaven. The last the persecuted one, he does say,
great is your reward.
He doesn't say there, in that case, which we're about to study, he doesn't say, great is your reward, and stop there. He does say, great is your reward in heaven. These others, he doesn't say, for you, they will be comforted in heaven. You know, he doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't.
Right. So one of the problems here is that we still, back in the Old Testament, you wouldn't even have talked that way. Like, nobody would have even thought, like, if I said you were going to get a reward, that reward was in heaven. Because there's a whole section of this book where it's never been mentioned. Like, God's never said that anyone's going to heaven. He never said that there is a place that people are going after they die. And the idea, you could say, is developed or is revealed to us through Scripture so that eventually we understand that when you die, you go to heaven, right? I'm not sure that's happened yet.
You do have David in the 23rd Psalm, I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
And yeah, but the house of the Lord, not, you know.
Right.
I mean, so, like, I would say, like, that's a stretch to say that, like, well, nobody's ever heard of heaven, and then he says that, and then we're like, oh yeah, there's a heaven, and the righteous are going there, right? We like to retcon. Retcon is when you, it's a term from science fiction, I'm sorry, and probably no one here. But anyway, it's a term when you take something from an earlier episode in a show and you change its meaning to now fit what happened later in the episodes, right? So anyway, how do we get back on topic? so anyway, like, I'm not, for the original audience, I'm not sure that anybody had on their mind, like, well, this is happening later when we get to heaven. And it's something that we like to do because it fits in with our theology. Fits in with our theology that, how do you make sense of that? Oh, it's easy, you'll see God when you're dead. If no one can see, and we like to use logic too, right? Like, well, if no one can see God when they're alive, then obviously they're going to see God when they're dead. Obviously, that's what Jesus meant. But actually, it's a great stretch to say that. I would almost go so far as to say that obviously that's not what Jesus meant. Because if you take it in its context, there's no reason to believe that's what he meant. But I don't know. I'm trying to stay away from the theological arguments. So, but happy to entertain questions too. So anyway, any other questions? Okay. To answer your question, yes, you are supposed to just ponder. What does he mean by that? Right. And I might even go so far as to say it's meant to be meditated on day and night. Like as you're driving home today, what did Jesus mean by that? As you're lying in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, what did Jesus mean by that? When you get up and you're taking a shower, what did Jesus mean by that? That's kind of how it works. Our third set. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There's the same reward again. Blessed are you, and this is the one that I say has 3 parts. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. See the 3 parts? Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. There it is. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. And I'm going to go along with you on this one. Why is the prophet's reward in heaven? If it goes along with the prophets, right? Am I reading that correctly? Is that the way you read it? That like, great is your reward in heaven, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So I'm reading that as the prophets are also getting a reward that's in heaven. So if you are treated the same way, you'll have a reward in heaven. I guess I'm getting some head shakes here. Why is the prophet's reward in heaven? Because they're dead. Because the persecution led to their death. Like over and over again, they were persecuted and died. Right? They're not getting a reward on earth. I don't know, not all of them died. Samuel dies of old age. Some of them, but most of them are persecuted to death, is how it works. And so their reward's going to be in heaven. Okay, so yeah, I agree with you on that one. That, and it's kind of the finale and stands out for that reason. But part of the reason why I say that, like, it's pretty obvious that he means on earth is because you read those verses before. He's healing the paralyzed, healing the demon-possessed, and then he immediately goes into, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. He's obviously talking about, like, now. Like you just saw it. It just, like, I'm doing it. And it's happening before your eyes. That the kingdom, and also, like, you really got to stretch it to make it work theologically. Like, if you take the real meaning of it, how does being poor in spirit get you into heaven? It doesn't. All right.
If you stay faithful through whatever you have to endure and stay faithful to God, then you're going to be in heaven.
Yeah. Well, but if poor in spirit means lacking breath.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people.
We're looking at 2 different poors then. To me, poor in spirit is you are trying to do right and you're being persecuted for it. That's,
Well, okay. So anyway, I would argue that the reason you believe that, and that I also believed it, is because it's what you've been told all your life. So if you just look at what the words mean, the word poor means impoverished. It means the same thing as our poor. You don't have. Okay? So that part's clear. Spirit is breath. It's pneuma or ruah. It's the thing that God put in you to make you alive. And if you have a lot of it, you're very alive. You're very powerful. If you have very little of it, you're barely alive, or you have no power. You have no get up and go. Like, that's literally what the phrase means. And so, this is why I said last week that, like, it's so bizarre we had to change it. It's so bizarre. We looked at those words and said, that's not what it means. Jesus didn't mean what he said. Couldn't have meant what he said. And we had to change it. But it becomes so obvious when you look at, if you just take his words as they are and look at it in its context, he came here for the poor in spirit. Right before it. You see what I'm saying? Okay. All right. Any other questions? Because the next part's so good. I want to move. No. Like, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want. Because most of this I didn't get until, like, in the last 2 weeks. I did not understand it. Okay? And I've been studying the Bible this way for, I actually don't know, it's been something like 4 or 5 years. and I don't know how many lessons I've heard on this, and I didn't get it until someone said it a certain way. And then I'm like, oh, that's what it is. And so I'm not expecting you to get it the first time I say it. But when you get it, that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm going. That's why I want you to ask questions. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's move on. Verse 13, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. And here's another one. There's another one that makes you go, what? You ought to read that and it not compute. Like the first time you hear it, you're like, huh? Why? Why am I saying that? When I say to you, salt loses its saltiness. Can salt lose its saltiness? No. The answer is no. Salt cannot lose its saltiness. Why can salt not lose its saltiness?
It's a pure element. There's nothing there but salt.
Because salt is salt. Exactly. Salt is salt. Am I wrong? Salt is salt. And if it is salt and you put it on your tongue, what will it taste like? And you put it in your body and what happens? Your blood pressure goes up. So we're told. Okay? Salt is salt. Salt cannot lose its saltiness. And so I've heard people, again, like our instinct is to try to make this work, to try to make it normal. That's what the instinct is try to make it normal. And so I've heard people say that, like, well, they couldn't get pure salt, and so you'd have like a block of minerals with salt in it, and then the salt would wash out of that, and then you would be left with like whatever other minerals that weren't salt. And the first thing I'm saying is I'm not buying it. Like as a physical reality in their world, I'm not buying it. The first reason I'm not buying it is because the way you solve this problem is you put the salt inside, and it doesn't get rained on, and then the salt doesn't wash out. I'm also not buying it that like they couldn't just get actual salt. It also doesn't work because then what is Jesus, like Jesus doesn't understand what happened? Because he says if the salt loses its saltiness, not if the block of salt and other minerals, the salt washes out, it's thrown out. He says if the salt loses its saltiness, it does not work in any way whatsoever. Here's another statement that you're supposed to look at and go, what is he talking about? What does he mean if the salt loses its saltiness? It will be thrown outside and trampled underfoot. This is what people did with that block of minerals that was left. They tossed it out the window and then people walked on it. Not buying it. Not buying it all. Who is trampled? If it's in the text, what does it mean? Who lost what they were and were tossed out and trampled underfoot? The Israelites lost what they were. God said, I'm making you a kingdom of priests. Did they lose that? Did they become not that? Absolutely. In the words, one of the words that you will hear over and over again in the prophets when they describe the invasion is trampling. The Assyrians are trampling the vineyards. That word trample is going to show up again and again for what happened, for God's punishment of them. If the salt loses its saltiness, if you are my nation that I have put here to show the world who I am, and if you're not that, what good are you? Except to be tossed out and to be invaded by another nation, to be trampled upon by your enemies, so I can teach you to become what you are, so that I can get you back. We need to have it's another triplet here, so we need to finish the three. You're the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people put light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. All right, so we've got salt, the light, the city on a hill. Okay? He's going to use this light analogy. That like, you don't light a lamp and put it under a lampstand, do you? What is the purpose of lighting a light? To give light. To give light. There's a beautiful thing which I am like so inadequate to explain. The word for light in Hebrew is or. Okay, the first 5 books of the law are Torah. You hear that? The light is in it, and the prophets will make this play on Israel being the light. Supposedly, they're supposed to be the light to the world, and they were also supposed to be the salt. Salt, by the way, if you go back in the text, salt is used in some of the sacrifices of the covenant. And the meaning of it is that salt preserves. There's like a lot of meanings to salt. It seasons, it's salty, it preserves. In the Old Testament, it's used for the preservation thing. And it's meant to use it. You put the salt in the bread or the thing that we're sacrificing because this is going to last forever. The salt is preserving this thing. And so it's supposed to last forever. I made a covenant with this nation. It was supposed to last forever, but you lost it. You became not it, not the thing that I made you to be. Look, you were supposed to be a light to the world. I didn't make a light and make it to be hidden. I made the light to show everyone who I am. A city on a hill. What's the city on a hill? We've talked about this city. We've talked about its geography. What's a city on a hill? Jerusalem. It's a city literally on a hill with the temple built up on another hill behind it. Literally the city on a hill. And notice what he says, you are the light of the world. And then he just kind of throws this in here. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. And then he goes back to the light thing, right? Like this town thing's just thrown in there. As if Jesus is saying, like, can't you see, like, literally Jerusalem is on the hill and it can't be hidden. It can only be there to be seen and defended and fortified. You can't go into hiding in Jerusalem because everyone knows where it is, and you can't move it, and it's sitting up on a hill. And you can't hide in Jerusalem. You're supposed to be the light. And as long as you are that, in the Beatitudes, we're going to be good. But if you lose it, if you are not that, the only thing left is to be trampled upon. All right. Boy, I really wanted to get to the next thing, but it's taking us long. So come back next week to see what else are the words that change the world.